The next morning, Lynn sat alone in her office at Helix Corp. The city outside was gray and steady, just like her thoughts. She opened her laptop and typed the name Edel and Bloom Catering. The company had catered her mother's charity events for 3 years. Their logo appeared on every flyer and donation card. They were now bidding for a Helix Corp contract worth millions. Conflict of interest, her mind whispered. She scrolled through the proposal with cold precision. Every word felt rehearsed, every number too round. She clicked open the financial section. 40% of the event budget was marked as logistics. That number blinked at her like a warning light. She saved the file, encrypted it, and leaned back. This wasn't just poor accounting. It was a pattern, a ladder built on favoritism. She remembered her mother's voice, soft and cruel. Let them wait for what's left. That phrase had traveled from the dinner table to business meetings. It had grown up with them. Now it wore a suit and a press badge. Lynn called her mother that evening. "Mom, I need to see the fund's tax report," she said. Her mother's sigh came heavy through the line. "You're overthinking again, Lynn," she said. "This is family. Don't mix it with corporate nonsense." Lynn stayed silent, staring at the city lights. "Finch Fallow supports us because they care," her mother added. "They're good people. You should be grateful." The call ended with a click that sounded final. Lynn stared at her reflection in the dark window. Her mother's rules never changed. The family always came first, just not her branch of it. She opened a new document and started typing. Addendum 11.7, Equal Service Clause. The words appeared one by one, like quiet rebellion. No preference by status, donation, or title. All guests must be treated equally. She read it twice, her pulse steady. A rule strong enough to crush the old one. She emailed it to legal for review, then closed her eyes. Her father used to call her the practical one. He said it as if it were a limitation, not a strength. Now, practicality was her weapon. The next day, she visited the charity website. Photos of smiling families filled the page. Huang was front and center, radiant as ever. Underneath, a caption read, "Serving hope one plate at a time." Lynn almost laughed. Hope had never been on their menu. She downloaded the latest donation report. It was filled with vague entries, community support, vendor partnership. The math didn't add up. Numbers told stories when people lied. And this story smelled of greed and glitter. She created a folder on her desktop named Leftovers. Inside it, she stored every document, every clue, every voice memo. Her reflection in the screen looked calm, almost cold. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. For every dinner where she had waited. For every smile that covered silence. For every time her children had been told to stand behind someone else. She was done waiting. The next move would be hers. The trap began with an email. Lynn typed it slowly, choosing every word like a blade. "Dear vendors, please review the updated clause 11.7 before resubmission." She attached the revised document and clicked send. The rules were now official. No favoritism, no priority lines, no exceptions. She leaned back, exhaled. The clock had started ticking. Within a week, replies began to arrive. Most vendors accepted the change without question. But Edel and Bloom took 9 days. Their message arrived at 4:53 p.m. on a Friday. The subject line read, "Proposal revision, confirmed compliance." Lynn opened it, already expecting a crack in their smile. The proposal was clean, polished, and fake. They wrote, "We fully support Helix Corp's values of equity." Then came the twist. A paragraph hidden between corporate jargon. They offered an executive priority experience. A complimentary, premium service for key leaders and families. The same poison, new bottle. She smiled without humor. They had signed the rule and broken it in the same breath. Lynn replied calmly, Please provide full details of this experience for internal review. No accusation, just a quiet demand. They took the bait. The next morning, a new message appeared. Attached was a presentation deck labeled Priority Ladder Philosophy. She opened it and froze. Slide 7 was a pyramid. 3 tiers, each with names and privileges. Tier 3, staff and families. Tier 2, management and key partners. Tier 1, donor families, executive leadership. At the top, elegant font, immediate first call service. The logo of her family's charity sat in the corner. Proof, undeniable. They hadn't just copied her mother's hierarchy. They had built a business out of it. She took a screenshot and saved it under evidence too. The phone on her desk buzzed. A message from Huang. Excited for the Helix event. Can you arrange for our kids to eat first? Lynn stared at the screen, then typed her reply. Of course, they'll eat first. Her fingers didn't tremble. The irony burned cold. She printed the pyramid slide and pinned it above her desk. A map of everything she had endured. Every slight, every whisper, every half-smile dressed as love. Now it was a structure she could dismantle piece by piece. That night, she stayed late in the office. The building was silent, humming with electricity. She created a project folder titled Fair Plate. Inside, she added blueprints for the audit, the meal test, the protocol. She sent a memo to internal compliance, coded and precise. They would observe the next vendor demonstration, anonymously. She wanted eyes, not noise. Before leaving, she opened her recording app. The file from the charity dinner still sat there. Her mother's voice played softly through her headphones. Let Huang's kids eat first. The same tone, the same order. Lynn closed her eyes and whispered, not this time. When she looked up, the city lights reflected on the window. They looked like small plates of gold. This time, everyone would eat at the same table. The following week unfolded like a quiet storm. Lynn arrived early, long before the others. The office lights flickered awake, sterile and cold. She opened the charity's public records again. Numbers had a way of revealing their secrets. The donations and catering costs didn't match. The fund paid too much, received too little. Then she saw it, a co-marketing rebate from Edel and Bloom. $25,000 sent back to the charity. On paper, it looked generous. In truth, it was a loop, a perfect laundering circle. Money traveled out dirty and came back clean. Lynn documented everything, date by date. She didn't need revenge, she needed proof. By evening, her desk was a battlefield of papers. She leaned back, exhausted but clear. This wasn't incompetence, it was design. The system wasn't broken, it was built that way. Her phone buzzed with a message. Hey Lynn, Mom says to make the signing event family-friendly. We'll bring the kids, let them go first, yeah. It was Huang again, sweet, confident, oblivious. Lynn typed one sentence. Absolutely, I'll make sure of it. Her thumb pressed send. The trap was no longer theory, it was scheduled. The next day, she met with internal compliance. 3 officers, plain suits, calm faces. They reviewed her report, nodded once. We'll be there, the lead officer said. No one will see us. Lynn smiled faintly. That's the point. Later that night, she opened her laptop again. She wasn't done building. A company's policy could destroy a legacy faster than anger ever could. She drafted the event plan for the demonstration lunch. 2 serving lines, identical menus, random order selection. Every motion logged, every deviation recorded. If anyone tried to cheat, it would be visible. She titled it Operation Second Plate. A promise disguised as procedure. At home, her children slept soundly. Nam clutched a toy car, my stuffed bear. They had no idea they were the reason she was fighting. Lynn watched them for a long time. She whispered, No more waiting for leftovers. Her reflection in the window looked unfamiliar. There was steel where doubt used to live. The following morning, she printed official invitations. The Helix Corp logo gleamed beside the charity. She signed her name with calm precision. Invitation, partnership signing, and family celebration. The irony tasted sharp on her tongue. By noon, the emails were sent. Her mother called an hour later, cheerful and proud. "I'm so glad you're seeing sense, dear. This will be wonderful publicity for everyone." Lynn replied softly, "It'll be unforgettable, Mom." When the call ended, she stared at her screen. The slide of the pyramid glowed faintly. Tier 1, donor families. Tier 3, everyone else. Soon, those tiers would collapse into dust. And when they did, no one could rebuild them. She saved the document and shut down the lights. The city outside was waiting, unaware. Justice didn't need noise. It only needed timing. The atrium of Helix Corp shimmered with glass and light. Guests moved like currents under banners of blue and silver. Lynn stood near the podium, composed, unreadable. Her family entered with the confidence of tradition. Her mother, Mrs. Than, waved to photographers. Huang smiled beside her husband, radiant as always. Their children laughed, holding glittered name cards. VIP family, the letters sparkled cruelly. Lynn greeted them with a calm smile. She handed each a visitor badge, identical in design. Her mother's badge was slightly heavier, a hidden lens inside. "Ready for a big day, Mom?" she asked softly. "Always," her mother replied. "This is our legacy." The words hung in the air like prophecy. The buffet tables gleamed under warm lights. Edel and Bloom's staff lined up, polite and poised. Platters of roasted chicken and pasta steamed. The scent brought back memories Lynn wished to bury. She stepped to the microphone. "Welcome, everyone, to Helix Corp's partnership celebration." Applause echoed off glass walls. "We're honored to host the On Mua Thur Foundation." She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the crowd. "Before we begin, a small announcement." The massive screen behind her flickered. "The Fair Plate Initiative," the title appeared. "Starting today, all events under Helix Corp follow a new rule. Service order will be decided randomly, not by title or donation." A ripple of confusion spread through the room. Her mother's smile faltered, just a fraction. Huang leaned forward, whispering, "What is she doing?" Lynn continued smoothly, "Fairness feeds everyone." She gestured to the screen. "Let's begin the draw." A number generator spun on display. Group 3 appeared first. A mix of engineers, interns, and 2 small children. Her children, Nam and Mai. They stood, uncertain but trusting her nod. "Go on, sweetheart," Lynn whispered. The crowd clapped politely as they walked forward. The buffet staff opened fresh trays from a covered cart. Steam rose, bright and fragrant. They served Nam, Mai, and the others first. The main buffet remained untouched, the VIP line silent. Across the room, Huang's expression collapsed into disbelief. She whispered sharply to her husband, who motioned to a caterer. The worker slipped a small golden card under the dish. "VIP family," glittering faintly. Lynn saw it, so did the compliance officers. One of them tapped his tablet twice, logged. She turned back to the microphone. "Our policy forbids any sign of privilege," she said evenly. "Every guest matters equally here." The screen zoomed in on the pyramid slide. 3 tiers, each labeled in neat corporate font. At the top, donor families, executive leadership. Her mother's face went pale. "This is your partner's model," Lynn said. "Approved and practiced by this foundation." A murmur swept the crowd. The legal director stepped forward. "Helix Corp finds Edel and Bloom in breach of contract," she declared. The room froze, stunned and silent. Lynn faced her mother. "I'm not defying you, Mom," she said softly. "I'm defying leftovers." Her voice filled the atrium, calm and final. The applause began slowly, then grew. It was not joy, it was release. The old order had broken in half, and no one rushed to fix it. The silence after the applause was heavier than noise. Lin stood still, her pulse steady, her purpose complete. Her family remained frozen at the front table. Huang's lipstick trembled, her husband's jaw clenched tight. Mrs. Than gripped her pearls as if they could hold the world together. Security guided Edel and Bloom's manager out of the hall. The screens behind Lin faded to black. Then a new logo appeared, Second Plate Foundation. She spoke again, her tone even and bright. The $50,000 sponsorship will now go here. Every child deserves to eat first. It was quiet for a beat, then someone began to clap. The sound spread through the room like a tide. Lin bowed her head slightly, accepting not praise but closure. Her mother stepped forward, face pale and shaking. "You've humiliated us," she hissed, voice low and sharp. Lin looked at her, calm as glass. "I only showed what was already there," she said. "You built this system, Mom. I just turned on the lights." Her mother's lips parted, but no words came. The moment stretched thin, fragile as glass. Then the spell broke. Executives left, guests whispered, cameras flashed. The event that was supposed to be a celebration had become a reckoning. An hour later, Lin sat alone in a small office. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed the incident report. Each sentence was clean, factual, detached. Timeline, violation, evidence, resolution. It felt like writing her own history in the language of justice. A notification blinked on her screen. New message, encrypted channel. From Anonymous at SecuriMail. She frowned, opened it. No subject, just one sentence. "You missed the real payment structure." Attached was a spreadsheet file. Another message followed seconds later, a password. Her breath caught. She entered the code. The file opened. Rows of data appeared, dates, transfers, notes. The sender field read, Edel and Bloom off-book payments. The recipient, Morrow PR Solutions. Her stomach dropped. That was Huang's husband's company. The payments were small but regular. Consulting fees, event strategy, priority service modeling. The phrase repeated again and again, priority service. It wasn't just corruption, it was monetized cruelty. Her brother-in-law had turned the family's favoritism into a business. Each family dinner, each, let them eat first, had been a paid rehearsal. Her mother's system was not just emotional, it was economic. Her eyes stung, not from tears but disbelief. She scrolled further down the list. 7 months, 12 payments, all tied to charity events. It wasn't charity, it was commerce wrapped in kindness. Lin closed the file, her fingers cold. Justice had opened a deeper wound. The truth was uglier than she'd imagined. She stared at her reflection in the monitor. The woman looking back was no longer just a daughter. She was the consequence her family never saw coming. Outside the window, dawn was breaking. A new light for a new order. She whispered to the empty room, "We're not done yet." Then she hit save. The investigation spread like fire through quiet corridors. Helix Corp's board ordered a full audit within a week. Lin submitted every file, every recording, every number. Her name was on every document, every signature. She didn't hide, she didn't flinch. Her mother stopped calling. Huang sent one message. "You destroyed us," it read. "Are you happy now?" Lin didn't answer. She deleted it without blinking. Happiness wasn't the goal. Balance was. The press caught the story 2 days later. Corporate fairness exposes charity scandal. Reporters camped outside the building, hungry for quotes. Helix Corp's leadership held a press conference. They praised Lin's integrity and transparency. She stood at the edge of the stage, silent and still. She wasn't a hero, she was a mirror. The system saw itself and finally recoiled. At home, her children watched the news in silence. Mai asked softly, "Mom, are we in trouble?" Lynn knelt, touched her daughter's hair. "No, sweetheart, we fixed the trouble." Nam nodded, serious beyond his years. He whispered, "Does Grandma hate us now?" Lynn hesitated, then smiled faintly. "Maybe, but someday she'll understand." The following weekend, the board reached its verdict. The An Muather Foundation lost all partnerships. Edel and Bloom's executives faced legal charges. Huang's husband disappeared from the city overnight. Lynn didn't celebrate. She just exhaled, long and quiet. The storm was over, but silence had weight. One morning, she drove to the edge of town. A new sign hung above a small building. Second Plate Foundation. Every child eats first. Inside, the air smelled of warm bread and clean paint. Volunteers served meals to children from local schools. Lynn joined them, apron tied tight, sleeves rolled up. A small boy grinned up at her. "Do we eat now?" he asked. She smiled, ladling soup into his bowl. "Now," she said, "always now." Her phone buzzed in her pocket, but she ignored it. For the first time, her world wasn't ruled by alerts. It was ruled by laughter and full plates. Outside, reporters were still writing stories. Inside, children were learning what fairness tasted like. At noon, Lynn stood by the window, watching them eat. The sunlight caught on their spoons like tiny stars. She remembered every dinner she had waited through. Every time her plate had been filled last. The memory didn't sting anymore. It was simply proof of distance traveled. She turned to the chalkboard behind the counter. Someone had written a quote in neat letters. "No one should have to earn a meal." Lynn added her own line beneath it. "Justice begins at the table." The room fell quiet for a moment, peaceful and whole. She stepped outside, breathing in the cool air. The city hummed around her, indifferent but alive. Her story had ended, but its echo would feed others. She walked away slowly, coat fluttering behind her. In her wake, the sound of children laughing carried on. It was the sound of a world finally learning to share. Evening settled softly over the city. Lynn walked home from the foundation, her shoes dusted with flour. Her hands smelled of soup and oranges. The streets glowed with quiet neon, not judgment. She passed a bakery where her mother once bought cakes for galas. The window displayed bread for donation, not decoration. Inside, 2 volunteers packed boxes labeled "Second Plate." Lynn smiled and kept walking. Her phone buzzed once, an unknown number. She opened the message. It was a photo of her mother, standing outside the foundation. No words, just the image. The woman looked older, smaller, unsure. Lynn stared at it for a long time, then typed one sentence. "You're welcome to visit. No reservations needed." She hit send and slipped the phone back in her pocket. At home, Nam and Mai were setting the table. 3 bowls, 3 pairs of chopsticks, no hierarchy. Mai giggled. "We saved you the first plate, Mom." Lynn laughed softly. "That's how it should be." Outside, the night hummed with quiet peace. Inside, everything finally felt even.